and welcome to Banking Frontiers. As always, we take pleasure in bringing the leaders in the financial services space in front of you. And today, we are going to discuss a very exclusive topic. In the age of AI, when agentic AI alone is going to break the barriers of 5 trillion by 2030, the entire business and services sector have been focusing on implementing agentic AI. And comes with this is the fraud risk, security concerns, compliance, and a lot more. The financial sector is not behind. There have been very strong innovations in the agentic AI space. People have been trying to grow from POC and are stuck there. They are not yet going into the production phase. Why? A lot more has to be done in the area of fraud risk, in the area of strategy, in the area of security, in the area of compliance. To discuss this, we have a visionary expert from the area of fraud risk and compliance. His name is Abin Mathew, and he is the head of fraud risk and strategy at State Bank of Mauritius. Abin, welcome to Banking Frontiers.
Thank you, Babu. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Abin, you have had a vast amount of experience in this area. Now, considering the fact that agentic AI is taking shape in a big way in the financial services sector, how serious is the boardroom, is the senior management concerned about the advent of AI and agentic AI in the financial services space?
If I have to speak about it, I mean, that's the talk of the town, right? Agentic AI, getting AI into the fraud risk sector, getting AI into the banking sector as a whole, into multiple divisions, multiple verticals. If I specifically talk about fraud risk, yes, boardrooms are now busy talking about AI and how it needs to be implemented. How can it solve the problem that the world is facing right now of multiple threat actors, threat vectors that are there, right? So even the regulator has taken note of it, and in their master direction of 2024, they mandated that we need to have a special committee of board for monitoring of frauds, right? So that's directly putting the ball in the court of the boardroom, that you have to take care of it. You have to ensure that your fraud risk strategy is aligned with your business strategy. It cannot be two separate things, and it has to work together, right? Each and everyone is currently focusing on fraud risk. It's a big problem in the industry today. A lot of measures are being taken by the regulator. Multiple parties are coming in, which is the Telecom, Ministry of Home Affairs, to solve this problem, and boardroom is also taking a note of it.
Interesting. And when we see the fraud risk today, can the traditional fraud risk strategy manage the influx of the AI-based modern fraud risk strategies? How is that integration and how is that transition happening?
Honestly, the earlier fraud risk strategy or the traditional systems that were there, they were more of rule engine based system, right? So we had certain rules, and the frauds were quite repetitive, quite slower. So we had an idea how to tackle this. But today, as the landscape has changed of fraud, now everything is real time. It's API driven, hyper connected world, right? The fraudsters have multiple methods that they use. One of the fastest payment mode, which is UPI. Then you have buy now, pay later, BNPL, quick onboarding. These has helped customers or the fraudsters to go ahead and act faster. Now the problem is that banks have to take time to get technology inside so that they can tackle these frauds. Now, introduction of agentic AI will definitely change that landscape. But we also need to understand that agentic AI is something that not is exclusively to the bank. It is also being used by the fraudsters as well. Even they use these methods to ensure that their fraud is multi-conventional. The fraud is at multiple places at a single point of time, where banks have to take time to introduce these agentic AIs or build those systems so that they can tackle these kind of frauds. Now, I always say that probably a fraudster, he just needs one mobile number, right? But a bank requires multiple defenses, multiple systems spend crores on it. And agentic AI will change the face of it. It has to be connected with network analysis, behavioral biometric. And once all these factors come in, I think agentic AI will take a lead.
Superb. Is really agentic AI taking over the traditional fraud risk strategy on one side? And on the other side, we also see that the agentic AI means autonomy, bringing in a lot more autonomous decisions. How much of autonomous decision is too much there?
That's a very good question because today industry is thinking about this. This is the question in front of every boardroom. How much of autonomous invention is too much autonomous invention? When we go ahead and talk about it, autonomous, we have to ensure that human in the loop factor is always there, right? Agentic AI does not mean I take away the human perspective of it. Autonomous risk or other systems can go ahead and detect, it can go ahead and predict, it can give you answers. But today's frauds are not only system, it's it's psychological, right? It's manipulation. So that's where the autonomous or this agentic AI cannot take a role or play a part. We have to ensure some human intervention is there to go ahead and tackle these or give answers. You can use agentic AI for giving out the scores and all those kind of things, but when it comes to freezing an account, when it comes to taking an action on some account, you need to ensure human is there, because one wrong move, you are answerable to the regulator. Why did you decline this? Right? So that explainability is part of the AI framework of the regulator as well. So we need to be careful of that, but we need to ensure that we control where we put this autonomous.
There is too much of AI and agentic AI happening. Yesterday, I was at a retail conference, and the retailers were saying, today we are using agentic AI and AI to identify the customers, their preferences, their choices. On the other side, the customers are also getting really very smart using agentic AI to or AI to buy the products and services. Now it is a constant war between AI and AI. Same thing
Correct.
appears here in the banking and financial sector,
That is
where
correct.
on one side you are the custodians of digital risk, AI risk, and frauds. On the other side, the fraudsters are also equipped with AI. How is the game of warfare of AI going on?
That's a beautiful game that is going on right now, and I believe that's something keeping us on our toes every day, every night, right? Now I call it a little different. I call it like, artificial intelligence is what banks are trying to use or financial institutions are trying to use, but what fraudsters are trying to use is, attack intelligence. So that's the difference in the AI, what we use and the what fraudsters use. And they are far more intelligent. I mean, I must admit to that. They have found ways or loopholes in the system that, they can go ahead and break. And the advantage that the fraudsters have is that they do not need much time to go ahead and build some kind of a tactic or system to go ahead and attack. They use chat gpt and multiple other AI platforms to understand how banking works or how banks set rules. They have reversed engineered all these kind of traditional rule engines that we have. They know what threshold banks keep, right? So today they are playing below those thresholds. They are, so it becomes difficult for the bank to actually set a standard of threshold, because once you try to go below what the fraudster is trying to do, you're then hitting the daily transactions of a genuine customer. So that's the challenge that the bank faces. But the warfare is going to be continuous. And as today we have AI, tomorrow I don't know what new technology will be coming up with, and
Quantum,
how these quantum, yes, quantum, yes. That's something that we can have a discussion in some other
a
round,
separate
because that's a
discussion.
big that's a big discussion. Exactly. So it's a constant warfare. It's an interesting game, but banks and the regulators are keeping track of it, trying to catch up with the technology, and I hope we'll be able to defeat it.
One very interesting thing is ultimately agentic AI is for autonomous decision. And when the autonomous decisions are today happening, of course, there is a lot of risks in the autonomous decision as well. But are our ecosystems or our risk management framework and regulatory frameworks ready for this automated decision making today? What kind of, either regulations, policies, or systems need to be in place for these autonomous decisions? according to you?
So RBI has come out with a framework, right? But however, there are a lot of, I believe, gaps where banks have to really think what exactly needs to be done. Now, for example, AI frameworks talks about explainability. It talks about ensuring that the customers are not affected, the transactions are not affected, and such other factors. But when you are leaving it to the system to manage a customer's transaction, take a decision to whether allow the transaction to go through study, that is by supervised or unsupervised learning, you are actually allowing a system to take a decision, and it might take a decision to decline the transaction by whatever it is studying. So it is not up to the mark, I would say. The framework as of today, it needs to learn more, it needs to evolve more, and I believe a global governance is required for AI. As we evolve, a global governance would be much more required.
Interesting. In the world of payments, you have ISO 20002 standards for SWIFT transactions. The same way, probably a strong global framework. Every country is having their own privacy laws. Every country is coming out with their own, local compliance laws. I think an integrated framework of some of the commonalities can be established, from what I gather from whatever you are trying to talk about in terms of
Exactly.
these frameworks.
How AML became global framework today, how financial practices become a global framework today. I think AI also need to have a common or framework, because frauds are now cross border. It's not restricted to your own country. Payments travel, right? So I believe a global framework will help.
See, one of the important thing that is also happening with AI is where the decisions taken by the AI definitely may or may not, resonate with the folks, and there can be litigations and things like that. The responsibility ultimately rests on the bank or the financial institution or the organization on behalf of whom the AI takes the decisions. In the banking scenario, how are the leaders in risk management and strategy frameworks like you trying to make sure that there is a right balance and the organizations really know where to cut the switch off the AI and probably get into the human intervention in between, how to make sure that the responsibility is taken care of?
I believe it's still a evolving solution, I would say. Now, if you understand, AI is still new in the banking areas, or rather in the fraud risk areas, and the skill sets have to be improved where for the people working over there, because it's completely new for them. It's not probably the core part of their job. It's more from a tech side, right? So people working in risk and strategy and all yet to understand how to make use of the AI. So that's an evolving thing, right? But however, work is being done around it. Hence, still right now, it's not left to AI to go ahead and take a decision to take an action on an account. That's the area that is still left open for humans to intervene and act upon. So once we find that balance, or once we find how we need to tackle this, I believe, plus once a regulator also give their go ahead and also their blessings, I believe we'll be able to come to that decision and how to manage this.
Interesting. Considering your practice as a industry practitioner for last 18 years and with advent of agentic AI coming into the risk management space, where do you think the industry is discussing the gaps which are existing, which needs to be filled in as fast as possible to make a smooth sailing, especially from the risk strategy framework?
It's more of understanding how many agents needs to be there in the first place to tackle the problem statement that is there. Now, I have interacted with multiple fraud risk experts and vendors where they say that banks or institutions have deployed multiple agents. Now, what are these agents doing? How are they interacting with each other? That a factor needs to be considered, thought about. Is this going to be at one particular loop that it's going to end up? Those gaps are there again, which I spoke about, the explainability, how to tackle that area, that even that gap is there. So the gaps are evolving, and as we implement and as we go further into it, we'll be able to understand how much deeper we need to get to ensure that agentic AI becomes a thing of tomorrow, and a continuous thing of tomorrow, where a human can take a break, become a AI strategist, not an executioner, where AI can take off that job and making rules, predicting stuff, and then giving out the answer, and human becomes a strategist and a AI expert.
Superb. Thank you very much, Abin, for this wonderful interview.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.